Why is it so hard to make art? I mean, it's hard to make art if the last piece that you made was good, because now you're worried that the next one won't live up to the expectations. But it's hard to make art if your last piece wasn't good, because you're worried that you'll do the exact same thing. But that seems to be diametrically opposed to its very self. One should not be true, and the other then also true. They should invert, and yet they both weigh upon us. And that's just one angle. If you've got people around you who are all involved in art, it can make it hard to work on your stuff because everyone around you is, and they have expectations for you. If no one in your family is an artist, then you can feel it's difficult to make art because you don't fit in if you try. What a strange situation. How difficult it is to make art. And yet, if you're here, if you're listening, if you're watching me draw this bizarre person stalking some turkeys in a weird little forest, there's something in you that needs to make art. So you struggle through, you fight through the bramble and try to find a way desperately to continue at the craft. And maybe that's what it is most of the time. Maybe most of the time it is a struggle. You are working against some part of your nature that wants to save you, that wants to keep you safe. But art isn't safe. It's always putting yourself out on a limb, trying something new, and risking failure. In that, it's noble in some strange way. And yet, with nobility comes risk. So you dive into your artwork, you risk things turning out good, you risk things turning out poorly. There's risk either way. It's not avoidable, and yet you keep coming back. Because there's something that can be achieved with art that can't be achieved with anything else. Some piece of your soul is soothed, is taken care of, is nurtured, is like a purring cat as it gets scratches in the noonday sun. But only through art. What is this mysterious thing? I do not know. I'm 37 years old. I've been at this for a while, and yet art, as much as I think I understand it, is still this elusive dragon, this unicorn or leviathan that moves in the background. It's around us all the time. We can't step outside without seeing it. You can't open your phone without observing its facade. And yet, understanding it is so difficult. We keep coming back even when risk is the only thing that we know we're going to encounter. And yet there's joy there too. And a unique joy, right? A joy that you encounter in artwork that you don't encounter anywhere else. I create because I must, because if I don't, I'm just not as much me as I want to be. But my drawings don't always turn out well. This very drawing that's happening in the background did not turn out in a satisfactory way to me. It's goofy and it's funny and I'm not upset with it. But I wish that I would have planned more. I wish that I would have put a little bit more time into it. The drawing itself only took about 23 minutes to execute, and maybe if I had spent another 10, maybe if I had spent 5 of that just planning. But it exists now. It's a piece of work that I brought into existence, and so it deserves some love. There is some merit in me bringing it forth, and it now sitting upon a piece of paper inside of a sketchbook. Do you ever worry that you are going to produce a bad drawing in a sketchbook that has a lot of good ones? Does it make it more stressful? Every page that you work through that sketchbook, you lay something else down. Each one creates this image in your mind, and yet every drawing that turns out well makes the next drawing all the more scary. How many sketchbooks do you have that you've walked away from halfway through, or that you haven't finished? In fact, have you ever finished a sketchbook? They're an intimidating thing. I've finished so many, but the more I think about it, the older I am, the more I contemplate, the more difficult it is to work on them. I probably have 7 or 8 sketchbooks at this moment, all of which are somewhat developed. Only the one that you're watching here is getting close to its end, and that's predominantly because it was my Inktober and Smogust sketchbook from 2024. It's a lovely sketchbook. I really enjoy it, and fortunately, for the way that I look at things, I have enough good drawings in there that if I have a couple bad eggs here and there, it just doesn't matter that much. But it's still stressful. It's still hard. Each drawing carries with it so much weight, good and bad, negative and positive. And I'm not sure that there's a way around this. I think, honestly, the solution might just simply be that you have to stick to it. That when art is hard, push through until it hurts, and then maybe step away. But come back. Don't wait that long before you jump back in, because it'll be all the more intimidating. There's a demon sitting on your shoulder that sits there and mocks you and says, oh, well, you've taken too much time away. Things are not going to turn out well. It's the same one that sits on your shoulder after you finish a wonderful painting and says, oh, this is great. This is beautiful. This might be the most beautiful thing you ever produce. You should probably just stop. There's no reason to keep going. If you keep going, you'll only disappoint yourself. And your parents are already so disappointed that you put so much time into your artwork. Why not give it up? Try something new. And maybe it's that same being in disguise that sits at the beginning of a new sketchbook and goes, this one will be different. Dive in, try something new. And then it flings off its disguise 5 minutes in and goes, you've tarnished it. The new sketchbook, it's all run amok. Walk away. But this little being, whether it is something that is a part of us or it is something extrinsic, should be ignored. But keep it in your rearview mirror, because it's probably a part of you. It's probably part of your subconscious that is trying to keep you safe. As much as I turn it into a metaphor or an allegory for something else, I do not believe that it is something that is outside of us. It is a piece of us, generally, that is trying to keep us safe, to prevent the feeling of failure, to prevent sadness. Because so much of being human, our instincts from an evolutionary or biological standpoint, are built to make our life safe. Fight or flight, both are structures to keep us safe, to allow us to have progeny, to continue to produce humans for the next realm of the world. And so when you engage in a piece of art and it feels bad because something's gone awry, there is a piece of your mind that goes, that was painful, we should try to avoid it in the future. But that is a primal piece of you. And whilst that means that you cannot get rid of it, it does mean you should try to contextualize it, because it's a piece of our brain that is old, ancient indeed, and should not be dismissed, but can be sometimes ignored. Think of all the times you've pushed through the difficult things. If you are married, if you are in love with someone, if you have a lovely relationship, there was a time where it was scary. There was a time where it was risky, where asking them out on a date or asking them to marry you, to live with you. Ooh, but asking that question comes with all kinds of risks, does it not? Starting a new job, starting an education, finishing a degree, all of these open yourself up for risk. But all of the biggest, most powerful, most beautiful, most wonderful things in life all carry with them risk. And we push through those. Trying new foods is scary. What if you hate it? What if you're allergic to it? But what if it's the next favorite thing you've ever encountered? So you push through. And in art, we have to do the same. We have to try to find a way to push through those moments, those difficult scenarios where failure is, of course, an ever-looming option, but at the end of the day means nothing. Because if a drawing fails, oh well. But don't tear that drawing out. Do not throw it away. Do not crumple that page, because it is evidence of your trial, evidence of your work, evidence of your growth. So leave it be. Let it sit there. Let it be a mark along the road, a sign that you can come back to and see, yes, I once was here and have now progressed beyond. I'm in a different place. But sometimes those failures will clue you in on things. Sidesteps, secret passages, shortcuts. You never know. You have to let them be. Let your art be. It's a part of you. It comes out of you. It's something like a child that will often take directions you did not anticipate. There's a beauty in that, and also a frustration, because you can't control every single aspect. And I know this might sound very strange to anyone who's just gotten into art, or anyone who has not done any substantial amount of writing, but your artwork seldom goes only in the ways that the designer thought. There are generally other things that pop up, pieces of your subconscious mind that infiltrate, situations in the circumstances surrounding you that jump in and inform what's happening, and even amongst the best laid plans of mice and men, something goes astray. And in that periphery, you might find joy, you might find experience, you might find a new path. So keep working, keep failing, keep risking failure. And if failure is a poisonous word for you, I would recommend that you reformat it. If you need to usurp that term and throw something else in there, then feel free to do so. But I don't mind the term failure. There's an honesty to it, an authenticity to it, a frankness to it. This drawing failed. Okay. It is now known. It is categorically arranged, and I can move on from it. I can do something different. I can just be the me that needs to be after that moment. I've had songs that have failed, pieces that have failed, classes that have failed, relationships that have failed. That is life. To live is to work and build on the bones of past hopes and dreams. Not to be consumed by them, to allow yourself to wallow in the self-pity forever, though sometimes for a moment, but it is to move on, to understand that the architecture that exists beneath you is your own hard work. And sometimes you look at those things and you go, look at all these failures, all these things that I've screwed up. And yet, you could also look at them and look at them as experience, look at them as hard work. All of these failed drawings are like a workout where I couldn't lift as much, or a workout where I couldn't run as hard. But that has to happen in order to go on to the next stage, to get to the next place where things can be better. You are never going to learn everything you need to know in order to make the perfect drawing. You are not going to watch a video and then all of a sudden know how to draw the biceps and the triceps of a human. You are going to practice, you are going to fail. It's a part of the process, and there are 10,000 other people who are just like you, who struggle, who don't want to fail, but kind of understand that they are going to need to get to where they are going. And again, if the word is venomous to you, then replace it with something else. I don't mind the term. And if you can find a way in your heart to work towards not minding it yourself, I would recommend it. Because that authenticity, that frankness, that rawness of the term is not a bad thing. It is you being honest with yourself. Failure just makes you human. It doesn't make you a bad human. It doesn't make you a bad artist. It just makes you human. You are going to have moments where things don't turn out the way that you want, but push through. Because on the other side, there's always something else. Might be worse, might be better, but it's always going to be something else. And if you keep moving artistically, if you keep pushing, if you allow yourself to fail, you don't allow your emotions to control you, you don't allow that primal piece of yourself to go, this was painful, we should stop doing it forever, you will grow, you will mature, and you just might find joy. Well, as always, thanks for listening. This was very ramblicious, and I had like 3 or 4 false starts before I recorded it. We don't have as many sketchbook sessions these days because I've reformatted some things on the channel, but I hope that you enjoyed this one. If there's anything here that you really identified with, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Or if there's anything that I got terribly wrong, please share. Because I, as another human, am capable of making failures, and maybe this is one of them. But I'm just going to keep moving forward, because it's all I can do. So thank you. And thank you to my patrons too, who are on the screen right now. If you want to, you can check out the Patreon and Discord linked below. But have a good day, and make something. Have a good one, y'all. See you soon.